Welcome back to the 2017 Dallas Regional Championships. My name is Gabby Snyder. I'm here with Adam Doricott, and we are ready to start our second game for the top four matches here in Dallas.
Yeah, the winner of this is going to be going on to play Andrew Novak, who we just saw win his top four match, and I think both these players definitely want to get there. We've seen both of them on stream today, I believe,
yes.
And it's going to be a really good matchup. I'm really excited for it. I think both the teams match up very closely to each other. I don't think anyone with a particular advantage, and both players taking that Vikavolt already to top four. So one of the Pokemon we've been excited about, personally I've been excited about.
I've been excited about it too.
But I'm really happy to see it, and I'm going to see if one of them can maybe eke out an advantage over the other with the use of that. The rest of their team, though, is going to be exceptionally important.
Sam Schweitzer versus Colin Hyer, Vikavolt versus Vikavolt. I believe this is going to be a very close match. Both these trainers running somewhat similar strategies when you look at their teams on paper. You know, they made a couple adjustments possibly to, fit their personal play styles a little bit more. So it's really going to come down to how these trainers think, what plays they make. And the pressure is certainly on. There is a lot of championship points and prize money on the line as the winner of this match, as you said, will be advancing to finals.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of similarities outside the Vikavolt as well. Both players bringing that Metagross, something we haven't seen so much across the board recently. Interesting to see how they use those each with the rest of their team. And both players bringing an Arcanine as well. That's been a bit more of a staple, but it's still important to use it as effectively as possible. If you can get it in and out with the Intimidates and really use that ability to its maximum, it becomes even more valuable to your team.
So we are ready to get started here. We have Sam versus Colin. Sam is running Tapu Fini, Kartana, Gigalith, Metagross, Vikavolt, and Arcanine versus Colin's team of Garchomp, Arcanine, Metagross, Tapu Fini, Vikavolt, and Porygon 2.
Tapu Fini, another similarity as well. I think both of them, though, are running the more offensive Tapu Fini that we've seen. It's not been one of those bulkier ones that we saw from a couple of players like Caleb. They're really looking to do damage. So these teams across the board look like they're very fast, very damaging teams. The one thing to note, Colin does have that Trick Room option with his Porygon 2, so that could have influenced how he's trained some of his Pokemon, maybe to thrive under the Trick Room, and it'll be important for Sam to make sure he has that answer. On paper, it doesn't look like he has that many answers, but I'm sure he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve to make sure he's got this far in the tournament. He would have had to have an answer to Trick Room at least at some point.
Yeah, that Gigalith definitely looks like the most obvious candidate for that Trick Room answer. It is very slow. We know that it gets access to moves like Stone Edge, maybe Rock Slide, maybe Earthquake. We've seen a lot of them carry the Z items for one of those moves. So it's all going to come down to, again, how these trainers decide to play these games, what kind of predictions they make. They're really playing at a very high level right now. So it's all on the line as we get started. Sam sending out his Tapu Fini and his Vikavolt as his lead. Colin responding with the Arcanine and Tapu Fini of his own.
So the Tapu Fini's matching up. They're not going to be able to do too much to each other, but the Tapu Fini on Colin's side of the field put under a lot of pressure by this Vikavolt. In response to that, very smartly, he's bought his Arcanine. That's going to put a lot of pressure on the Vikavolt. And the Tapu Fini putting a lot of pressure on the Arcanine. So a very interesting matchup, the way that they sort of pressure each other across the board. I think the way that they're trained is going to be exceptionally important here. And what they decide to do, I think a couple of switches here may give one player an upper hand. I think they've just got to be very, very smart about how they do it. So a good switch going unpunished is probably the way to get themselves a really quick upper hand.
No switching this turn. Arcanine moving first with a Snarl. It connects with both that Tapu Fini and that Vikavolt, lowering their special attack stat by one stage. Tapu Fini with the Hydro Pump, and it connects with that Arcanine. It does a ton of damage. It gets that one-hit knockout even with the Snarl. So unfortunately for Arcanine, it just wasn't able to hold on, and Vikavolt dodging the muddy water from Colin's Tapu Fini. Really unfortunate turn for Colin there, and Vikavolt using String Shot to target that Tapu Fini. It's going to lower its speed by 2 stages.
Yeah, that's a really good turn, I think, for Sam. Even with the Snarl, he manages to weather the storm and retaliate with a big Hydro Pump. We've not seen any Tapu Finis using Hydro Pump yet, so he's definitely one of the more offensive, and the Snarl probably cancelling out one of those attack boosting items. The special attack once boosted is a real monster to handle, so I think that might be the item choice there that he's used, and that put a lot of pressure. Obviously the Vikavolt showing something we've not seen from any of the Vikavolt on stream in the String Shot. The Tapu Fini now exceptionally slow. Vikavolt may be able to move before it and start getting big damage down. The Metagross coming in isn't really pressured by either Pokemon on Sam's side of the field, but I'm worried about what it's going to be able to do in return. Obviously, Bug Buzz will do good damage. Vikavolt probably looking to do some damage to the Tapu Fini, but I don't think Metagross is the perfect pick here for Colin. So the momentum really coming with Sam and the onus on Colin to do something quickly.
Tapu Fini switching out on Sam's side of the field. That Kartana sent in immediately to take the Meteor Mash, no attack boost. Buzz from Vikavolt onto the Metagross. Again, not dealing a lot of damage there. And we see a second Muddy Water from the Tapu Fini on Colin's side of the field. This time it does connect with both Pokemon. It deals a nice chunk of damage and gets the accuracy drop on that Kartana.
So he gets something he needs there. He gets a lot of damage down the field. Very good that the Muddy Water finally hit Vikavolt. Might be in range to get knocked out by something from the Metagross. Maybe the Meteor Mash could do it. Maybe a Zen Headbutt would be likely as well. Metagross, not the most offensive, but coming in and really taking hits.
Leaf Blade from that Kartana will connect with the Tapu Fini, but it survives. It will be able to attack once more, provided either this Vikavolt is knocked out by the Zen Headbutt, which it's not, holding on with that 3 HP, getting the Aya Papa Berry, getting most of its health back. Vikavolt using that Bug Buzz. It does target the Tapu Fini, unfortunately, for that knockout.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, no! Tapu Fini survives! I could have sworn it was out of HP, but it's not. It's able to still use that Muddy Water and bring both the Kartana and the Vikavolt down into the red, certainly in range of a Bullet Punch if that's what Colin has on his Metagross.
Yeah, that's a really good turn for Colin, not getting knocked out. The Bug Buzz, an interesting decision there from Sam. Could have gone for the Thunderbolt, maybe a little bit scared of a switch or trying to capitalize on another switch there. So the Metagross still in a really good position. Now they've both been lowered by consistent Muddy Waters. He's going to be able to start picking up knockouts with Bullet Punches. He has it, but he doesn't go for it this turn.
Sacred Sword from that Kartana onto the Metagross, who fires off a second Zen Headbutt for the knockout. It's not very effective, but it still does enough damage to knock that Kartana out. Vikavolt with the Thunderbolt to finally knock out that Tapu Fini.
Yeah, that's a nice exchange of Pokemon. I think both players really wanted to take a knockout there. But importantly, that Kartana remove for Sam, that's such an offensive pressure. It wasn't doing much to Metagross. The Sacred Sword, an interesting choice. If it had something like Night Slash, it could have gone for that for some super effective damage, maybe trying to capitalize on a switch, but Colin very confident in Metagross's ability. Both players, though, getting to bring in a new Pokemon. Sam getting something really helpful in the Intimidate. It is only going to affect the Garchomp, though.
Yeah, so Garchomp not looking that great right now. It does have a nice type advantage against that Arcanine, but thanks to that Intimidate and knowing that Arcanine is such a bulky Pokemon, I highly doubt we'll see it get knocked out this turn. Really, Colin needs to protect his Metagross here unless he's confident in whatever. Actually, no, he only has 2 Pokemon left, so really he needs to make sure he protects the Garchomp, protects the Metagross, and is able to sort of move things around so they're more in his favor.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, I think, with the 2 Pokemon on the field, and with Sam with another one in the back, even if he knocks Vikavolt out, he's still on a 2v2 situation, and Metagross has taken a lot of damage. I don't think there's much left for Vikavolt to do, and it is going to get knocked out immediately.
Bullet Punch from the Metagross into the Vikavolt for that knockout. If that Garchomp moves next, we could see it deals massive damage to that Arcanine thanks to its Z move.
It's going to be the big Tectonic Rage coming out of the Garchomp. Don't forget, though, it has been intimidated. There is also the Misty Terrain on the field. It's not going to affect that because it's a Dragon type, it's ground type move. Tectonic Rage, though, going into the Arcanine, we saw one survive thanks to the Intimidate earlier, so it's going to be able to see how close it comes on this move. It's going to be doing a lot of damage, and it is enough for the knockout, so not the Intimidate just not pulling its weight.
Unfortunately, we do see the Misty Terrain disappear from the battlefield. That was a great play by the Garchomp there. You know, it's possible that's some information for Colin to take moving forward. Maybe that Arcanine isn't as, you know, physically bulky as some of the other Arcanine we've seen throughout the weekend here. And Tapu Fini is the last Pokemon left on Sam's side of the field. Unless it can stop that Metagross, it's not looking that good.
It's not looking good at all for that Tapu Fini. We have sort of concluded that both the Tapu Finis in this game are having to lock themselves into a move. It's also going to have to weather the storm of this Poison Jab. Looks like it does. It's going to be able to retaliate with a Muddy Water, though, asking a lot still from this Tapu Fini.
But it gets the knockout on Metagross, so we know the Garchomp will move first because that is what we saw from this past turn. It will use that Poison Jab, But if it's not enough for the knockout and we see a possible accuracy drop from that Muddy Water, it could mean that Sam is able to win the game. It's not over yet, despite the fact that it looks like on paper this Garchomp should definitely get the win against Tapu Fini. It all comes down to how much damage this Poison Jab is going to do. It connects with the Tapu Fini, but it survives. Tapu Fini misses the Muddy Water though, and just like that, Colin is able to win game 1 here of this top 4 match.
Tapu Fini really putting up a fight there. Obviously, it needs to hit the Muddy Water, it needs to hit the accuracy drop. That is a very tight win condition to get to. And the Poison Jab from Garchomp, and the few Garchomps we've seen so far, haven't actually been using that Poison Jab much. It's something people picked up this year, and that really swings that matchup in his favor. It was a tough position when Tapu Fini came in on its own. Looks like it's holding a choice item, probably the specs based on the damage it did early in the game with that Hydro Pump. It really struggles there to pick the correct move. You want to be getting damage down on both in a 2v1 situation. You also want to be hitting for super effective damage, but you can't do that with just water and fairy type moves, the staple of Tapu Fini. If you lock into fairy to deal with Garchomp, you haven't dealt with Metagross. If you go with water types, you do get neutral damage on both, but it's just not enough for those knockouts, especially on Garchomp.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for both these trainers to adjust moving forward into game 2. That match was just so close. It's really hard to know, how do I make adjustments when it all came down to just whether or not Muddy Water was able to connect with that Garchomp in the end. It's almost like if I were in their shoes, I would think about running the exact same 4 Pokemon and just trust that I'd be able to sort of outmaneuver my opponent, either better or just the same, depending on if you're Sam or Colin. Looking at the fact that Colin was able to lock in his team already in this match, I think that might be what he's planning to do.
Yeah, this has been a very, very fast-paced match. Lots of attacks each turn. A lot of players pushing back and forth on each other, so I really, really enjoyed that from both players, really. A very interesting kind of play. Colin, though, just seemed to have the upper hand. Very smart switch, as I was saying. That Metagross doing work for him. Maybe Sam decides to bring his own Metagross this game.
Tapu Fini and Arcanine coming out from Colin's side of the field. Sam sending out his Tapu Fini and the Kartana. So once again, we see both Tapu Finis out on the field, but unfortunately for Sam, Colin did decide to lead with that Arcanine, getting both a type advantage over that Kartana and intimidating it as well.
That's going to be a really good position for Colin here. We do see, as we said before, the Arcanine puts pressure on the Kartana. The Tapu Fini does put pressure on the Arcanine. Kartana puts pressure on the Tapu Fini. So another one of those weird crisscross situations where all the Pokemon interact with each other. Kartana likely going first, so the Tapu Fini under most pressure. If you can keep it safe and get something done with Arcanine, he's going to be in a good position, but then Arcanine also has to be safe from whatever Tapu Fini has to offer. We saw in the reverse of this, the Snarl trying to stop it, and Hydro Pump just went through it. So if that's an option, it's going to be something that they have to think about, and I think big decisions here are going to be what really decides the tempo of this game.
Kartana switching out, Vikavolt taking the field in its place, so not wanting to stick around, especially with that Intimidate, but Arcanine with the Flare Blitz targeting that Vikavolt. Will it be enough for the knockout? It just barely misses that knockout, leaving it with 26 HP and allowing it to use that Ayapapa Berry to heal almost all of its health right back up. An amazing switch there. Tapu Fini with the Hydro Pump. Unfortunately, it does connect with that Arcanine and it will knock it out, just as we saw in game 1. But Tapu Fini on Colin's side of the field, we haven't seen it attack yet. It decides to go for a Moonblast, targeting the Tapu Fini on Sam's side of the field. If it gets a special attack drop here, that could have been huge, but unfortunately we do not see it.
No, that's the problem we see when you put the choice items on these Tapu Finis. You end up locking yourselves into a weird move. Very good play there from Colin to try and Flare Blitz the Kartana. A brave switch from Sam, bringing in that Vikavolt, which was a really big problem here. So that Vikavolt, bulkier than the Kartana, manages to take it. The recall obviously adds up, and then followed up by a Hydro Pump. That Arcanine removed from the field. So the Vikavolt and the Kartana, which is in the back, a little bit safer now, I think, on that side of the field. Definitely some answers from Colin, though. He can be doing a lot more.
Tapu Fini switching out, Arcanine taking the field in its place, looking to intimidate that Garchomp, possibly stop it from getting a knockout on that Tapu Fini thanks to the Poison Jab, but Colin making a beautiful read here. It's going to use, again, the Groundium Z, again, that Tectonic Rage, and hopefully target what is now an Arcanine.
Yeah, very smart play. Obviously, he was trying to get rid of the Tapu Fini, but it's a very brave play, knowing likely what's in the back for Sam. It is going to be the Arcanine, that switch being punished, so this Arcanine likely going to be removed from the field immediately like we saw in Game 1. It doesn't manage to hold on, and now the Pokemon advantage sits with Colin. I think the momentum, it's equal now. I think the momentum, though, is definitely in his favor. This Moonblast coming in, going to target down that Vikavolt and fall a little bit short of the knockout.
Vikavolt holding on, able to string shot that Tapu Fini once again, just like we saw in Game 1, lowering its speed by 2 stages and lowering the speed of the Garchomp as well. This means when Sam brings back his Tapu Fini onto the field, if he decides to send it in, it will most likely be the fastest Pokemon.
Yeah, it's really good string shot. It's a move that hasn't been picked up ever before, I don't think. You get it so early in the game, people just seem to ignore it. Vikavolt now getting the speeds down on both Tapu Fini and Garchomp is brilliant. If the Tapu Fini is outspeeding the Garchomp, it puts pressure on it with Fairy-type moves. If Vikavolt outspeeds the Tapu Fini, it puts pressure on it with Thunderbolt. So Tapu Fini is going to be going first.
We don't see any switching from Colin to mitigate that speed drop. Instead, a Hydro Pump into the Tapu Fini. Garchomp with Fire Fang for the knockout on Vikavolt. An amazing play there by Colin, saving that Fire Fang as a surprise for the last couple rounds of this tournament. Moonblast from Tapu Fini on Colin's side of the field into the Tapu Fini on Sam's side of the field, gets that special attack drop, but Tapu Fini holding on with 3 HP.
It's so close. The Kartana is going to come in. It's going to be in a really good position, especially because the Pokemon on Colin's side of the field have had their speed lowered. But these are the last 2 for Sam. He needs them to be doing a lot of work. He needs his Tapu Fini to be doing something, and it's locked into Hydro Pump, so we're doing good damage to Garchomp, not so much to the Tapu Fini, so a lot resting on Kartana's shoulders here to really push on. And if the Pokemon in the back is a good answer, he's in trouble. We're going to see him try and get rid of Tapu Fini, though.
Kartana with the Leaf Blade into the Tapu Fini on Colin's side of the field for the knockout. We know that the Tapu Fini on Sam's side of the field is locked into that Hydro Pump, so if it does enough damage to knock out that Garchomp, it could be huge. If Garchomp hangs on, though, and attacks that Kartana with the Fire Fang, possibly for the knockout, but it is intimidated. It does not deal enough damage. Kartana is now at +1 attack thanks to that Beast Boost. We know the Tapu Fini will be able to get a Hydro Pump off most likely again, but Metagross is the last Pokemon for Colin on the field.
Colin getting caught a little bit short there. Didn't switch out after the string shot, so his speeds are lowered. And the Tapu Fini and Kartana, the fastest things on the field, he's going to have to weather an absolute storm to get through, to really get these knockouts. Of course, missing the knockout on the Kartana, really big. Interesting training, and he's going to have to play a little bit safe, starting with this Protect.
Garchomp protecting Metagross with the Bullet Punch, trying to knock out that Tapu Fini. It is able to do 3 points of damage for that knockout. It's all down to Kartana, who targeted the Garchomp with the Leaf Blade.
Yeah, that speed not bothering, especially when the Metagross has Bullet Punch, and now Kartana under threat. I don't think it's going to be able to take attacks from both. Of course, if it can knock out the Garchomp, it won't get caught by the Fire Fang, but Metagross free to start attacking it itself. So a very good position for Colin. Not entirely over, of course. If there's no damage from the Metagross and the Night Slash can come in, it could swing very quickly towards Sam, but he starts off with a fantastic Leaf Blade and Rough Skin doing some damage to help Colin's cause.
We see the Leaf Blade for the knockout onto the Garchomp, so Kartana gets a second Beast Boost. If Metagross is able to connect with this Meteor Mash and knock it out, Colin will be moving on to the finals of this tournament, and Kartana is knocked out. Colin Hyer will be playing Andrew Novak in the finals of Dallas here. A very well played game by Sam, though. It was just so close to the end of these games.
Yeah, I think both those games are on an absolute knife edge. Sam definitely showing some options to find his way out of that situation, but they weren't quite enough. A load of Pokemon just hanging on. That Vikavolt with String Shot, I think, something he keeps in the pocket until he really needs it. I love that tech, and I'm really happy to see it making top 4 at this regional. So something people have to think about. They're not only thinking about Vikavolt, they're thinking about the moveset it has. It's just a lot more to think about while team building, but a fantastically played set by Colin Hyer. A very aggressive game from both players, actually. We used to know Colin for his trick run play, his defensive play, but a lot of all the switching being very, very aggressive, which I liked, and a lot of very quick knockouts between the turns.
Yeah, I really love the Garchomp on his team. You know, I think we actually saw this in the Swiss rounds yesterday. Colin actually wanted to avoid revealing the fact that he brought Fire Fang to this tournament, and I think that was an amazing call by him. He was able to keep that hidden until he absolutely needed it to bring him to the finals of this game. And as you saw, that Garchomp was just perfectly constructed for this metagame. It got the knockout with that Ground EMZ. It got the Poison Jab for the Tapu Fini, and it has the Fire Fang to stop Pokemon like Kartana Mirana or possibly even Celesteela.
Yeah, moving away from standard paying dividends there for Colin. I love that he manages to make those changes, and that kind of metagame call, even though on the surface it looks like a normal Garchomp, you pull that out at the right moment and you win your top 4 match and make it to finals. So congratulations to Colin, well played to Sam, of course. Going to be taking home a nice chunk of championship point change and a cash prize, I believe.
Yeah, so congratulations to both these trainers. We're going to take a quick break while we get our finalists ready to battle, so please stay tuned, everybody.